From OrangeMT.com, and today we're going to take a look at one of our 2019 model tri-frame tilt tongue. This is the 12-foot raft tilting trailer. So let's take a look. So if you've seen some of our other videos, what's new for 2019 is we have a spare mounted up in the front. And that is available on all of the tilts, the 80 by 10 and the 8 by 12 as well. The tilt is only available in the 12 and the 10 footer right now. We are not making anything else. There's an option on some of our trailers called the Rebar Rail, and that's a piece of rebar that goes over the outside edge. And I do not believe, well, yeah, we got one right over here. Let me show you what the Rebar Rail option is, because it's hard to explain to people. This is an 80 by 10. The 80 by 10 comes standard with the 13-inch tires and wheels. And then we have optional silver rims in 2019 as well. And so instead of the white, you get the silver rim. But this is the Rebar Rail. It just provides lots of places to tie down to along the sides of the trailer. On the trailers, like the 10 footers are made out of 2x3 angle on the sides. And you can stand on the rail on the edge and reach in the boat, like if it's in the water and stuff like that. So sometimes some people like that wider rail. It gives you a wider spot to stand as well. This is a great trailer to look at. This is also a tilt as well. This piece here is our deck tie down, and that deck tie down goes in the back there. And so you can see the tie down on that other trailer. But just so you can see the 3 hinge points. So we got 3 hinges on it. Those are grade 8 bolts that it tilts on. It's a tri-frame tongue. That's 3/16 steel and that tube steel, not 1/8 inch. So we're 50% thicker than all our competitors. It means it's 50% stronger. Well, actually, it doesn't mean it's 50% stronger. It's about 200% stronger. Because if you understand, like a pop can, when you stand on it, it doesn't give way until it starts to crunch, and then the whole thing goes. And by using thicker metal, it keeps it from doing that. That's a Dexter Easy Lube axle. See, it's got this camber to it that's not bent. That's so when you put weight on it, it flattens out. That's the way they're supposed to be with the arch up. But Dexter Easy Lube, so we don't use Lippert axles. We use Dexter axles. They're more money. They're a better axle. If you read the reviews online for Dexter axles versus Lippert axles, you're going to find about 99% of them are going to tell you to get a Dexter axle. This is an Easy Lube hub. It's got a greaser inside that little rubber gasket right there. And you pop that gasket off, just pry it out of there with a screwdriver, and inside there's a grease zerk, and you pump it full. Unlike a buddy bearing, which sticks out, and you pump it up, the buddy bearings don't have a spot for the air to escape when you're pumping it full of grease. And so what happens is it blows the inside seal out of the axle, or the back seal, or one of the front seals when you're pushing grease in there. And these are completely open when you do, and it runs a channel through the center of the axle all the way to the rear bearing where the grease comes out, and then it squeezes out around the front, and then you know you've done it right. So you can grease your bearing without removing your wheels from it. And just get a grease gun from Harbor Freight or someplace, put some lithium type 2 grease in there in case you forget it's on the sticker on the front, and that's there. Comes with the Redneck Code Red tire warranty. So there's I believe it's a 6-year warranty against manufacturer's defects on the tires. That's through Rednecks. Don't call me in the middle of the night and say I have a flat tire someplace, but they do help you with that kind of stuff. This is that 3-inch channel subframe. All of our trailers have a 3-inch channel subframe, and you can see it goes all the way from that cross member all the way to the tongue. It's longer on our non-tilt models, and then you have a subframe goes up towards the back. And the big difference with that 3-inch channel subframe is that it keeps your axle from coming up through your deck. I see some guys just put one there and put another cross member there. They don't have a subframe on the trailer at all, and it starts to push those cross members up through the deck of the trailer as the weight of the trailer goes around. I'm going to show you some tilt stuff on this one. This is our of course, is the 7x12 comes standard with the 15-inch tires and wheels. So it's got a bigger tire and wheel on it. It's also got, new for 2019, we're running LED lights. They finally came down in price enough where they're cost affordable. If you break one, you can afford to repair one. Before they were like $60 or $70 a piece. Now they're down to that, $20 to $10 range. So they're a little bit thing, but they still come in our big light guards here. On the tilt models, the light guard's recessed a little bit more because of that. It's got stake pockets down the side, your 3-inch channel. There again, there's your subframe underneath there. You got washers down here. What's that washer for? Well, that's so you can put your ratchet straps, and your ratchet straps run down here and not up here on the side of your raft, and so that ratchet mechanism doesn't scrape the side of your trailer. There's also another loop there. You're going to find a couple loops back down here if you want to tie off. Where do I tie off on the back end? Well, there's a loop right there and one over there. So you can put some loops there. We use a higher grade wiring as well. You'll find an extra packet of wire here because we make our wires a lot longer than they need to be. That way you can pull the lights out of the harness to work on them. And so here's the big test. Before, we weren't sure about getting that balance right, of getting that to tilt with the spare tire on it. And this time, we got it. There you go. So, it stays tilted, and it doesn't untilt itself. It stays untilted, of course. And you got that taller winch. Why is the winch mast so high? Well, it's got to clear the top of the trailer when you're pulling up the boat, and that's why it's got a taller winch mast on it than our non-tilt trailers. I always get some 4'5" guy always out there, loves to fish, but man, he hates the fact that I put a big tall winch mast on it. He's got to stand on a telephone book to reach it. No offense, little guy. Yeah, no, but no, seriously, that's why it's got a taller winch mast. And these are steel belted radial tires. A little bit about those. They're 6-ply. There's a lot of super cheap tires out there that some of these cheap companies are using. They have plastic bands and no steel belted. So this is a steel belted radial. What does radial mean? Well, it means the bands go around the tire. There's what are called bias ply tires, where the bands go diagonally through the tire. They go horizontally, but they go diagonally. And the problem with those, we had a lot of separations. A lot of those were super cheap. They were made out of plastic, no steel things. They were about half the price. And so a bunch of trailer makers that weren't cared about quality, they would jump onto that. And they were jumping on those super cheap tires, and they'd have problems later on. You can see it's got a shackle in the back there. Allows that spring to expand. And you want to, we weld these upside down, so they're welded 365 degrees. So they're welded even on the bottom. So then we actually paint them suspended in the air. So it's painted 365 degrees. You got 2 coats of primer and 2 coats of Rust-Oleum gloss black. What if I wanted another color? Great, go have somebody else paint it after you buy it, because we make Henry Ford. You can have any color you want as long as it's black. But no, seriously, you can get some pinstripe. You can get some stickers for it if you want. But the black is the best. If you get a rock chip in it or something like that, just keep a can of Rust-Oleum gloss, spray paint, and touch it up when you got your boat in the water already. That way it's you don't spray your boat in mid-season or whatever, but you can keep it touched up and looking beautiful for a long time. Of course, once you load the raft, just pull down on it. Woo. And there you go. You got that tri-frame front effect. Make sure you keep your fingers clear. You have all those moving parts in there. We're just going to put that pin back in there. Keeps it nice and tight. What are those loops for? Well, that's because when you loan your friend the trailer and he forgets to put the pin back in and he loses the pin on the highway, you can run a strap around that little washer there and an emergency tie down the front end. As well as, of course, you could tie down the front of a raft there. There's also a washer located here. So if you want a double stack, you put 2 rafts on there as well. There's also washers here for tying down, and the one is there. So you can tie down the front of your raft this way, or you can tie down a second raft, tie it off the top that way. Of course, if you have 2 rafts, you probably have about 5 guys. You're not even going to bother with the tilt. You're just going to pick that raft and chuck it in all over the top like it's crazy. But, the tilt's nice for when you're out there by yourself, or if you got a bad back, you don't want to do that. Of course, just use the winch, do that up. I'm sorry, I forgot to put the winch handle on here yet, but it does come with a handle here. And this is a 20-foot strap that'll probably go about 7 foot past the back of the trailer. So you can always add a second strap if you need to winch this boat for like 40 feet away or something like that. So, and, that's a Reese winch this year. It is a 1,500 pound capacity. You can see what that one is there. And, and then we got a big wheel jack on it. So it's an 8-inch wheel jack down there on the bottom. Not the little 4-inch wheel or a 6-inch wheel. you may have to lift it off a really tall truck. And that's because of the deck height. It's a bigger wheel over the top there. Whenever you're towing it, make sure you just pull this here and you swing it out of the way. And that's how the winch works there. You know, when you put it back down there, it's going to lift it. It's plenty high enough to lift it off this four-wheeler. But if you have a really high bumper, you may have to put a block underneath it. And if you put a block underneath it, make sure it has a notch in it so the wheel doesn't roll off the block. But I mean, I know people that have some bad backs and that kind of stuff, and they got to have something that can lift it off. Well, get the block then and do that. But it's nice that I get more people who want the big wheel on there because they like to move it around their garage. They like to move it around the driveway, and it usually just has a raft on it, and it doesn't weigh that much. Now, there's a lot of people out there building some aluminum trailers. Aluminum, it's great. It doesn't rust, but like the common aircrafts or the first aluminum airplanes that blew up, they blew up because they had stress fractures in the aluminum, and basically aluminum cracks like a grain of salt. It can't flex as much as grade A36 steel, which is what this is. It's made out of 90% recycled car bodies. You know, so and they add the right magnesium to get it to that test out to that grade A36, and so basically. But with aluminum, it can crack right where the wheel mounts are and that stuff like that. But they don't have enough weight, and you got to have 60% of your weight forward of the axle. And people will go, well, look at this trailer. You can lift it with one finger. It is not going to tow with a piss if you can lift the front end of a trailer with a finger, because it doesn't have weight forward of it. And when you put weight on like a raft on there, the raft's going to catch air and pull back and up. And that's not enough to keep the trailer down the road, and you get that fishtail effect on the highway. So you got to make sure that one has enough balance. It still has tongue weight, and as you can see, it doesn't come off the four-wheeler or anything like that. And I had one guy who was really concerned about it, and he said, I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to take it for a test drive, and if I don't like it, I'm going to bring it right back. I said, sure. Go right ahead. And he drove 90 miles an hour all the way back to Butte. And he said, anybody's got questions that, you know, he had so many other dealers that told him, don't get a tilt trailer. Don't get a tilt trailer. And, they don't tow right. Well, that's probably because you're looking at a snowmobile trailer. And that's the difference between a raft trailer and a snowmobile trailer. The snowmobile trailer is designed for a snowmobile that has its engine in the front of it. They really don't tow well when they're empty or when they have negative weight like a raft. So that's it. Right now, this one doesn't have a stain deck, but we're using an oil-based stain. I don't know if I have a stain deck here close. There's one way up in the backyard, but we got some beautiful stain decking as well. So right now we're running some specials on some unstained decks because we're out of stain for the season because of all this white scrap out here. It takes a few days of nice weather to get the boards to dry, and then the stain to dry on top of it. So we can't stain right now until that. So we're running some specials on that, but come midsummer, they'll come with the stain decking as well, and you can call and see what we have in stock. We're open by appointment only. Give us a call, 370-5466. It's Orange Acres, Montana at gmail.com. You can email. This phone gets emails just as good as it gets text. Then I can email you pictures of what I got in stock if I have something in stock for you. It's usually about 2 weeks an order plus 1 week per additional trailer that I already have ordered. So if that's like, if I have 5 trailers in front of you, you're looking a good 7 weeks out. You can also take a look and see what we have in stock. Give me a call, 406-370-5466. That's Orange Acres, Montana, and see us at trailersmt.com. Thanks for tuning in.